All right, Tyrese, we have got to talk about some NBA teams and just talk about a couple of teams for the playoffs. We know that the playoffs are right around the corner, starts in April.
Hmm.
A lot of teams are trying to finalize it. A lot of teams are actually dealing with injuries, and I do want to talk about some of those teams uh,
Okay.
as they continue to enter in. We got the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul out still, the Golden State Warriors just without Curry. We'll see what happens with him. He just had an MRI. We'll see if he's able to continue to play. Obviously, got to
Hmm.
talk about the Boston Celtics and their run, and
Yes, sir.
their kind of continued success under Ime Udoka. We also got to talk some 76ers because they obviously are a team that is limping into the playoffs now with Embiid out and then Harden out. It's just kind of looking a little
It's
shaky right
looking
now.
like Philly again. I mean, the Nets again, but in Philly.
Uh, Also want to talk a little bit about the Dallas Mavericks and Luca Ball. Can this
Hmm.
Luca Ball be sustained in the playoffs? That's the biggest question mark going into for them. How many is that? That's the
That's
couple
what,
teams.
six?
Six.
Something like
One,
that.
2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need three more teams. I do want to talk about the Chicago Bulls as well. Just the fact that they don't have Lonzo Ball again, that's going to be another
Oh,
huge
we could talk
factor.
about Denver too,
Talk
with
about
Jamal
Denver.
Murray.
Yep.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. Yep, I'm down for that. So that we need one more team, and I'm thinking that we talk
Um.
about. You know what? We're talking Lakers. We're gonna talk Lakers
Oh
and
yeah.
just.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, so let's start off with the first team. For me, I think it's Golden State Warriors. I
Hmm.
hope we can start there, and then we can go to the Boston Celtics afterwards. Tyrese.
Okay.
The Golden State Warriors, obviously, a lot of people have been very frustrated with the fact that Steph Curry picked up another injury. This time, a little bit later in the season, obviously had the ankle problem. I think that there was some sort of situation with Marcus Smart that people are kind of blaming for the injury.
Yeah.
I think it was okay, but I think the Golden State Warriors will be okay as long as Draymond Green is healthy. But my
Hmm.
concern about this team kind of going forward, Tyrese, is just the health and availability of Steph Curry.
Right.
Because if Steph Curry is not healthy, this team is not going as far as it needs to go. Some people
Yeah.
are calling them an NBA Finals contender. Uh, but it all depends on if Steph Curry's healthy. And we all know that Steph Curry has had his injuries in the playoffs before.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there's no excuses for this Golden State Warriors team going forward if Steph Curry is able to play. Do you think that this injury is a big concern for the Golden State Warriors moving forward?
Yes, it's a big concern for them. As I was bullish on them coming into the season,
Mm-hmm.
and if he's out, man, they're going to be maybe a first round exit. I'll say that they could potentially be knocked off by the Lakers or someone like that
Yeah.
because let's see, they're what, third? Oh no, they wouldn't play the Lakers. Let me look at the standings. Let's see who they would mainly if it came down to.
And as you kind of finding that out, James Wiseman also out as well. They were looking for him to kind of be
Oh,
a bit of an X factor, and it's just it's looking like bad news bears right now for the Golden State Warriors.
yeah, if they play any of these teams, the Mavericks, the Timberwolves are that's who we should talk about, honestly, and scratch out. Well, we can add them in too if you want to. The Timberwolves or the Nuggets they play. Um,
We'll talk
they're
about them
gonna
and the
lose.
Nuggets.
Okay, yeah. If they play any three of those teams I just named, Mavericks, Timberwolves, or Nuggets, they're going home in the first round.
Yeah,
Facts. If they don't have him ready by playoff time, they're going home in the first round.
yeah, and he's
There's no
gonna
way
be
about it.
yeah. I mean, he's gonna be reevaluated in 2 weeks to see how the MRI, see how everything is. Like I expect him to be there for the playoffs, but Curry with his ankle injuries has always
Oof.
been the biggest concern for these Warriors fans. I mean, they've kind of dealt with it early in Steph Curry's career. It's crazy to think that he's already 34 years
Right.
old.
Like
It
he's like getting so old.
seems like he just entered in the league just yesterday. But
I know.
these ankle injuries have been a huge concern for Warriors fans and the Warriors front office. And to be honest with you, that's the reason why the Golden State Warriors were so. Uh, they were debating themselves on whether or not to build around him or Monte Ellis, and they obviously chose right with Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these injuries they keep popping up, and as you get older,
Piling up.
especially being a smaller player, they will add up. And obviously being a shooter, it does help, but at the same time, you need to be able to be crafty, and he's crafty in the way that he plays, and that's how he's able to
Plays.
kind of play the style that he does and scores many points and just creates opportunities for his teammates as well. And so without Curry there, I think that they're going to be very stagnant. And going back to the James Wiseman thing, without James Wiseman there as an X factor, to me, I think that's huge red flags or bad news.
Oh yeah.
The swelling has gone up, and now it's like uncertain whether or not he can play this season, and that's a huge concern. So I
Yeah,
think
that is.
I think the Golden State Warriors need to be careful moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not looking too great right now for the man. Like they're getting that injury bug where it's supposed to be time of getting healthy, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Curry will be ready to go in the first round because if they play the Timberwolves, Denver with Murray coming back, or
Mm-hmm.
Dallas, they're toast.
Yeah.
Like he might as well rest up because if he hurts it again or something like that, he
Mm-hmm.
it can be career ending. I think.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
was it on his other ankle or was it on his one he had surgery on?
I am not sure. I think it was on his left ankle from the last time I checked.
Okay.
So not sure what the.
Wow. Yeah.
Um.
Yeah. And then the Wiseman thing. I don't know if I told you, but I think I told you they should have traded Wiseman. They should have traded him while they had. They should have traded him and Wiggins and
Yeah.
tried to get some good assets for him. But their value's diminishing by the day now because the
Mm-hmm.
injury bug with Wiggins and then Wiseman now with the swelling. So it's going to be hard to try to move them in the off season.
Exactly. So I think if let's do a scale here for all these teams. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level going into the playoffs? For the Golden State
Okay.
Warriors, I think if Steph Curry's healthy, I'm gonna go with the 7 if he's healthy. Just
Ooh.
just because I think for my concern is that like an ankle injury to Steph Curry is pretty. I would say it's a pretty derailing injury in my opinion.
Okay. Uh, I would say if he's healthy, like if you're saying if he's healthy, like 100%, no ankle sprain or anything, I'm gonna give them a 10, man.
Well, it's a
Like,
10. I meant more so like with the ankle injury included, I'm giving them a
oh,
7 just because I think that, ankle
oh,
injuries for Steph Curry they're brutal. Like it's not like one where it's like, for some players they're able to deal with it and play a
mhm.
different style. Steph Curry needs that mobility and that ability to create and be a shot creator. They need that from him, and I just don't see that. Uh,
I don't know. It could be like that, but then again, man, they have the best trainers up there in the Bay Area. Good, physicians up there. They have top of the line, so it's not like this is 30 years ago when
mhm.
they have the technology to get him back full strength quicker than he normally would be. So I don't know. It's kind of like a wait and see. But if he's ready to go and there's no injury with that ankle and it's his opposite, shit, I'm giving them a 10. Anybody can get knocked out in the West if he's ready to go.
Uh,
But,
okay, let's see here. Moving on to the Boston Celtics, we gotta talk about them.
mm-hmm.
Obviously playing tremendously well these last couple games. They are first in the Athletic division. I mean, again, this was looking very shaky at the beginning of the year. They've come around.
Yeah,
They've won a lot of games. Emma Udoka deserves a ton of credit,
time for second.
along with Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown for kind of stepping up their play after being criticized for the first half of the season. I would say that for me, I think the biggest thing for them is just to make sure that all their guys, we stay healthy for the rest of the season, and Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown continue to play the style of play that they have been throughout this whole season and bring it over into the regular season. Because I think they're a fun team to watch. They
Mm-hmm.
obviously have the guys, they have the talent now. Derek White has been a tremendous X factor for us in adding another scoring uh, body, which is something that the Celtics definitely needed, desperately needed,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Chipotle Boy and
My Chipotle boy Romeo,
and then just kind of things going on.
huh?
Tar Heel Nation. I don't want to see your Tar Heel Nation name, man. Friggin' Tar Heels in the in the NCAA playoffs. Uh,
UNC.
but yeah, kind of going back to the Boston Celtics, I think from a scale of 1 to 10, Tyrese, I'm gonna give them an 8.
Okay.
I've been really impressed with the way they've been playing. I watched a little bit more film than I these last couple of weeks. Uh, I've been impressed. And so I'm hoping that the Celtics can continue this defensive style of play that they've kind of built and kind of named themselves now moving forward into the playoffs.
Okay, yeah, you're near me. I was gonna give us a 9. The only reason why I didn't give a 10 is because I gotta see other guys get involved. Like Peyton Pritchard's doing really well. If he can keep that up,
Mm-hmm.
then we're going places like win it all type stuff. If he can get 15 or 17 points off the bench, that's a strong if. But if he can even get like 13 off the bench, I think we can damn near win it all. And if everybody's playing how they're playing now defensively, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's no one who can really beat us. Maybe besides Phoenix. That's who I think. That's who I think we're gonna play. I think we're gonna beat any team in the East. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
um, I might sound like a homer, but I don't know, man. Remember, like I told you, I'm getting 2017 vibes all over again, but with more maturity in these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean this is definitely a better team than it was, at the beginning of the season, hell even last year.
Yeah,
Again, like they were just giving me no confidence at the beginning of the season, but
they weren't
that's
healthy too. They weren't healthy. So imagine if JB never missed 15 games, right? Like we would have probably won at least half of those 15 games. So we would probably be first in the East at 53 games. So you know, um, I don't know, man. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's the only thing. Like, we need other guys to step up
yeah.
because I think the Jays are going to get cold eventually. Like, this sagging off defense that teams are playing against us is going to wear off
Yeah. Uh
in the playoffs because it's slowed down. So, we're going to need other guys to step up. Like Derek White right now, he's struggling. He's struggling right now. He was doing good for us the last, 10 games, but the last 3 games, 3 or 4 games, I think it's been, he's been struggling, man. And if
yeah.
he's struggling like that going into the first round, it's going to be a problem for us because we need that 12 to 13 points off the bench consistently.
Yeah. And let's move over to one of our another Atlantic Division rivals, the Philadelphia 76ers. This team, of course, won 30 minutes ago. They beat the Heat.
Miami. Yeah.
Maxi scored 28. Obviously, we know what kind of player Maxi can be. I think Maxi is obviously a talented player, and the reason why they kept him in that trade and did not get rid of him. But James Harden hamstring injury, the injuries to James Harden once again is going to derail the 76ers, and Joel Embiid not being healthy. I mean, that's been my biggest gripe with Embiid because I think Embiid has the total package. But the
Yeah, he
injury
has a
bug
total package.
the injury bug to Embiid continues to be kind of his biggest kryptonite, and it's a frustrating thing to see that he is not going to be healthy enough to kind of contend in the playoffs. So,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I think I'd give them a 6 or a 7, for just in terms of being a contender this year. Because obviously we know the history of James Harden, and we also know the history of Embiid. Those guys just
Yeah.
cannot stay healthy in the playoffs. And it just kind of goes to show that, the 76ers, although they may have felt like they won the trade, and all of us have said that they won the trade, ultimately, if the goal is to win an NBA championship, I just don't think that they did enough. And I think they're going to have to wait another year and see what free agency moves they can make in order to win a championship. Because I don't know about you, Tyrese, but I'm not impressed with this 76ers team. I
Oh,
mean, they have pieces, but they obviously
yeah.
they
They
don't
got to
play
put
as
the
a
puzzle
collective.
together.
Yep, I
Yeah, they got
agree.
to put the yeah. It didn't make sense to really get James Harden. I understand they had to try to get an asset for Ben, but they were better off trying to develop Tyrese Maxey. Man, that kid's balling. Like, look what he did today against the Miami Heat, and I think they were all healthy.
Yeah.
Like, come on now, like you can't even you. They wouldn't have probably beat the Heat with what James there just because of his game. Like his game is kind of it's stale now. Like guys caught on to it. He's not getting the calls he used to. Like he's not effective anymore how he used to be. And I think that's going to be a problem because teams are going to
Hmm.
start looking at that now. Like he's not going to
Exactly.
move the needle for us. But to go back to the original thing, I would give them probably a 5. Like yeah, I would give them a 5.
5. Okay. And then
Yeah.
Tar Heel Nation had a question for us before we move on to the next team. Do you guys think that Doc Rivers and Harden legacy on the line this postseason? Um, No, not for James Harden. I think Doc Rivers as to me, like, personally, I know what type of coach Doc Rivers is. I know what type of player James Harden is, and uh, my biggest complaint with James Harden will always be the fact that he never is in shape for the season to start. And
No,
that's probably one of my most frustrating. Uh,
bro.
I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but that's my biggest pet peeve with James Harden is that, like, he's a guy that's just not dedicated to the grind. Not
Philly, Philly was the worst place for him to go to be focused, man. You have Meek Mill there. You have Lil Baby. You have Michael Rubin, Robert Kraft. Like those guys are going to be out partying on the weekends, man. Like
yeah.
that was not the ideal place. That's damn near like Lou Williams going back to. That's like Lou Williams at the strip clubs all day, man. Like that was not a good place.
With
And
the
I
lemon
think
pepper wings.
lemon pepper wings, man. It's not gonna be good. Like he hangs around a lot of rappers, and Meek Mill's
Yeah.
always there courtside with Michael Rubin and Robert Kraft, and they're gonna try to get close for investment deals off the court, I think, and he's just not gonna be in it. But I understand they have to try to get someone in return for Ben, but it's not for him.
We got heat up three. So true on James not being in shape. That man loves going out in nightlife too. Yeah, I mean,
Nightlife.
I would say the reason why he won that MVP the year he did is because he came into the season in shape. Like, he worked out with PJF, a trainer that trains a lot of NBA and college athletes, and I even follow his stuff. He's a great tool and asset. If you guys are,
Mm-hmm.
again, this is not a paid sponsorship by him, but I do like his programs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and when he finally trained with him, like, he was like in shape. Like, this was like MVP mode James Harden, which we all love to, or maybe not love to watch, but he was putting up numbers and putting up performances. But at the end of the day, like, if you're not consistently doing that throughout your whole career, you're just gonna be, like you said, enjoying the nightlife, hanging out with Meek Mill, Ruben.
Yeah, Michael Rubin
I
and
mean,
Robert Kraft trying to get a investment deal. Try to
trying to hit up trying to hit up the masseuse parlors, Robert
man
Kraft.
something. Yeah, that was not the greatest. Once I kid you not, Bernie. Once I seen that trade, I just thought of Meek Mill and Michael Rubin, like so happy and little baby courtside. And look who's been there at the games. Those three guys I just named. It's been a
Yep.
distraction, man. Like that's if he really wants to win, I think James should have went somewhere like San Antonio. Um, he needs a coach with structure, man. Like who will really yell at his ass. He's never had that.
I don't think so either. So, we'll see what happens.
No.
And let's move on to the next team, Tyrese. We got the Phoenix Suns, obviously the number one overall seed in the
I
West.
was bullish on him too.
Obviously the Chris Paul injury has been a
Yeah.
huge derailing and a deterrent for them.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul's been out he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Saying that he could be back as
Whoa.
early as Wednesday in Minnesota. I think, let me look at their schedule really quick and see when that game is. I
Wait,
believe
next
it's,
Wednesday, right? Yeah,
yeah,
next
next
Wednesday.
Wednesday. And next to play Minnesota in a couple, actually 2 more days. So he's gonna be ready
Oh
in two
yeah.
more days apparently. So
Oh yeah, they're fine though. They don't even really even need him until they get to the playoffs. To be
yeah,
honest, I wouldn't even rush him back just because they're so far ahead.
yeah,
There's no need.
yeah. I think for me, like, for the Phoenix Suns, my biggest concern for them is not necessarily Chris Paul, like you said. I think he'll be fine. My only thing is going to be Aiton. Obviously, he stepped up in
Mm.
points this year. And Aiton and Booker
He's
do
playing
need
for
to.
a deal.
He's playing for a deal. I think Aiton's going to be the biggest X factor for this team. Obviously, we saw last year what happened when he went up against Giannis. It was
He
definitely
got bullied.
he got bullied. He looked like a child.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest concern for me is, like, is Aiton ready to take the next step? Because in order for this team to really win that championship, I think he needs to take the next step. And so we'll see, what happens going forward for the Phoenix Suns. Does Aiton take that next step? And what do you say, Tyrese? What's your confidence level in this team?
Excuse me. Yeah, I think even if he doesn't take that next step, I think excuse me, I think they'll be fine because they have JaVale McGee who's excuse me, playing better than he's ever had in his career. So I think with him added to the equation this year, um, they'll be okay. If he's not, if they meet the Bucks again, I think they have enough size with McGee there now to where, they can put up a stronger fight against him defensively, and but he's definitely gonna have to step up. Like if he's averaging, what does he average? 17. He's gonna have to average at least uh 23, at least 22 to 23 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as far as ranking and score how we're doing, I would give them a 10.
Yeah. You give them I give them a 9. Just because, with Chris Paul, the injuries for me have always like, again, last year in that series, where he basically was playing with only his right hand. That was always,
I know.
like if he's
And I
not.
think he did an OKC too, didn't he, in the bubble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always been injuries with him, whether it's in New Orleans, Clippers, moving over to his career. I think that's always been like the thing that sucks, because I want to see Chris Paul win this championship. I think that this is probably his best year yet. And they're probably my pick. Kind of doing a redo to be the guy, or being the team that wins the championship. Barring any crazy injuries to Paul or Booker,
Yeah, they're deep, man.
knocking on
Phoenix,
wood for that,
listen,
but
listen, Phoenix, they're deep. Like they're the deepest team in the league, bro. Like real talk. Like I honestly think they can damn near probably win a championship without Chris Paul, just because Cameron Payne has developed and he can damn near do almost the same thing that Chris Paul can do, but he's sometimes does stupid fouls. But if he
Mhm.
cleaned that up, they can they're a deep team, man. Listen, Mikal Bridges, they got the other kid. What's his name? Shamit. They got shooters. They got
Mhm.
defensive presence, rim protectors in McGee. They got that other young kid who's a center. Man, like they're a deep team, bro. Like
Yeah.
I honestly think, like I think they can really run the West, bro, for like the next 10 years. Like those guys are all under like 20, 25 or 26, bro. But they're the most talented 25 to 26-year-old like team in the whole league. Because if you look at it, the Warriors are getting old in the West, like etc. So they're
Yeah.
they're gonna be great for years to come, bro. Just
Yeah.
like us.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens there. Again, my confidence in them is a 9. And we'll see how that continues going for this team. Let's move on to a couple more teams, Tyrese, and then I'll probably sign out of here, and we'll probably have to talk some NCAA later this week. Maybe
Okay.
after the Sweet 16. Uh, Actually, no, we'll talk a little bit about them. I'm just really
Okay.
tired, but we'll push through. Let's see here. The next team I want to talk about is, of course, let's do the combination. We'll do the combination of the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Denver Nuggets obviously playing tremendous basketball right now. They are looking forward to this playoff series. Obviously Jamal Murray not close to being able to return, according to reports. Michael Porter Jr. is, though, so that's good news for them. And I think they've been kind of carried on the back of Jokic this whole time, and I think this team is obviously solid. They're always going to be a solid team. Uh, Mike Malone does a great job with his roster and does a great job with the Denver Nuggets. The question is,
Mm,
can they get over the hump?
yeah, that's the question. That's
And
the $1 million That's the $1 million question, bro. Can they get past the hurdle?
And the problem is that when you have Jokic leading every single statistical category for your team, and then the next person averaging and looking at the point averages, your next
Mhm.
person is Will Barton averaging 14 a game. That's a concern.
Yeah, that's not gonna do it. That's
And
not gonna do it.
it's,
It,
yeah.
it's gonna be a struggle. But go ahead. Let me hear your ranking.
No, no. I mean, I'd probably give them I'd probably give them a 6, just because I think Jokic is just that good. But when you traded for Aaron
Damn.
Gordon, you were hoping for like some great scoring, and
Hmm.
he's only giving you 14. And you just need more from that. And depending if Jamal Murray can come back healthy, that's the biggest thing, is that he's also going to be coming back and hasn't played this whole season. So
Right.
if he comes to the
Rhythm.
playoffs, he's going to be probably gassed, in my opinion. And so,
Oh yeah.
uh, I think 6 is probably where I'm going with this team. Again, not necessarily a team that I think is going to win it all, but definitely can make some sort of noise and add to the Jokic legacy, and hopefully they can rebuild and retool for next season for Jokic.
Yeah, I'm in that same realm. I'll give them probably a 5 too, just because, like you say, I gotta see other guys step up, man. When you got Will Barton only doing so minimum, and MPJ still out, he's injury prone, and Murray hasn't played in 2 years. Yeah, I don't know. We gotta wait and see, but I give him a 5.
Yeah, and then let's move over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a surprise team. I think a lot of us did not expect the Wolves to be good this year. I think a lot of us are kind of surprised that they're at the 6th seed currently, kind of tied, 6, 7 seed, tied right now with the Denver Nuggets. This kind of reminds me of a couple years back when Jimmy Butler was on this team and they were fighting for that playoff spot to kind of finish up the season. And the Minnesota Timberwolves did and got the 8th seed. I think for me, when it comes to this Minnesota team, obviously we know the talent that Karl-Anthony Towns can be. I think I know you and Pete have been, he's kind of similar to Ben Simmons, with the video game stuff. So that's also a knock on him. But what I will say is that I do think that he's a little bit more focused this year than most. And I think Ant has definitely stepped up in terms of, being a top scorer for this team. Obviously leading their team in steals. Meanwhile, Karl-Anthony Towns is kind of leading in points and rebounds, and D'Angelo Russell in assists. And I also think that D'Lo has been playing really well too. Taking that step back, not being necessarily the scorer that I think a lot of us expect him to be, but more so being the guy that dishes out the ball, which I do like a lot. But I still think that this team is way too young, even though Karl-Anthony Towns is a little bit older. I just think that this team is too young, so I'm going to give them a 6. Just because I think that they're a team that, if they can get some better, maybe not some better, but if the pieces around them can kind of grow a little bit and kind of become what they need, I think this Minnesota team can be what I thought it would be a couple years back. But it's a wait and see with this team. But I do think that they'll win a game or two in the playoffs, but I think they'll get eliminated pretty early.
Really? Oh, I think they can probably. I don't know, man. Like it all depends. But if we're just saying like Warriors first round and everyone's healthy, they're gonna lose. But they'll put up, like you said, they'll put up two games, maybe one game. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna give them a 6. Just because they play so well together and like they're well coached. Um, they're kind of a deep team too, man. They
Yeah.
got a 6, 7. They got at least a 6 guy rotation with Beasley, Towns, D'Lo, Pat, um, Prince is there. Um, who else they have over there? They got some guy and like they got some guys, man, who can get buckets. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll give them a 6.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Minnesota is a young up and coming team. They're exciting to watch, but I still think that they're just a little
Oh
bit too
yeah,
young
they're far from going to where we think they're trying to go.
All right, and
But they're an exciting team.
let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks, Luca Ball, the Luca Mavericks, if you will, the Dallas Lucas, because I feel like this whole team revolves around Luca. This roster is obviously not. I don't think it's as necessarily as good as I think some other teams.
No.
And when we look at Luca, obviously everything besides blocks, just because we know Luca can't jump. It just seems like Luca's leading the whole team. It obviously is leading the whole team in all statistical categories. 28 points a game, 9.2
Yeah, he's
steals,
the main
8.5
guy.
assists, 1.2 steals. I mean, he is the main guy. I think that's the style that they like to play. Obviously, no Porzingis. I think Dinwiddie has been a great acquisition for them. Obviously, hit 2 game winners last week. I think that he is definitely a good add. Jalen Brunson, obviously an underrated guard as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got Max Kaliber, just a body. Dwight Powell. I mean, again, do I think that this can Luca carry this team like I think a Giannis can? No, because I don't think that
No,
any
no, no.
any any guard can lead a team to NBA. I mean, Allen Iverson's like the only guard that has ever done that before maybe not in the history of the NBA, but at least in the modern NBA, 2000s and
Yeah.
above. Um, has been able to do that as like the solo guy without any other pieces around him. Um, Honestly, eerily similar to that Allen Iverson team where you just kind of have a lot of guys around him and he's basically just going to make the play. Do I expect them to make it very far in the playoffs? I mean, if we look at their seeding, I think they're the fifth seed if I'm not mistaken. So they would be taking on the Utah Jazz. I think that'd be a fun
That
series.
would be a fun series. Yeah, I was gonna say that. That would be a
But
good series.
I don't know if it's necessarily enough to carry them to that. I think the Jazz. I mean, it's gonna be a fun matchup because Quinn Snyder and Rick Carlisle are great coaches. I think it'd be a fun kind of back and forth between those two.
No, Rick's
Uh,
gone.
oh no, is Rick
J
gone? Oh no,
Kidd.
Jay Kidd. I forgot it's Jay Kidd. I forgot it's Jay Kidd there.
Yeah,
Crazy to think that Jay
yeah, it
Kidd's.
is, and they're doing so well too in his rookie year.
So I might have to eat crow on Jay Kidd talk, uh, but I
Oh
do think
man,
that Quinn Snyder would have the edge on him. But
yeah,
uh,
for sure, for sure.
if my confidence rating, I'd give them a 6. I'd give them a 6 just because I think Luca is a great guard and I think he can get them to the next round, but will he necessarily get them to or kind of finals contention? No.
No, I mean I would give them a 7 just because they're playing really well, but I don't think they can keep that up. They're really inconsistent. Like Powell, he's inconsistent. What's his name? Brunson, he's inconsistent. Those guys are gonna probably disappear in the brights of light and his palms are sweaty. So, anything can happen. Like Luka could just go ballistic and average 40, but it's unlikely. But yeah, they'll be fun and exciting, but I'll give them a 7.
Yeah. And let's move on to the next team. Let's move on to the Chicago Bulls. Obviously they were an exciting team. They're obviously doing pretty well this season. Kind of
Bullish on
exceed.
them too, man. I was right on a lot of these teams, man. You
They
guys are
were.
looking at me crazy. Huh? The Bulls, the Suns, number one, the Warriors. Look at all these teams. The only team I wasn't really bullish on was the Grizzlies, but they surprised everyone.
Yeah. The Chicago Bulls again. Obviously DeMar DeRozan having an MVP like season. We'll see if he wins the MVP. I have a feeling that he probably won't.
No
But
way, no.
this Bulls team is very, I think, evenly scoring wise. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vucevic,
They just
Kobe
haven't been healthy.
just haven't been healthy, and that's my biggest concern going into this playoff series. I believe that they are going to be the fifth seed, so they'd be playing us, the Boston Celtics. Obviously, remember those fun days. Uh,
With D Rose.
I mean, I think that this will also be a fun matchup. My concern for
Uh-huh.
the Bulls, especially being, as high as the 1 seed at one point, obviously they have, kind of hit a skid. And I think that's due to the fact that without Lonzo Ball, without Caruso, their defense has definitely slipped. Lonzo Ball had a setback earlier. And so he's probably not going to be back for the playoffs in time, which is a concern. Or actually, he's not going to be back for the regular season, but, even the playoffs is going to be a concern as well, for me at least.
Yeah, he's not going to be in playoff shape.
And so they're going to be relying a lot on Desumo, and
And
also
Debo.
relying on Kobe White a little bit to take that point guard responsibilities. But Patrick Williams will be back. A guy
Yeah,
that they were bullish on, but
but he's not going to move the needle for him. He's a good, solid role player, but he's not going to take him over the hump.
yeah. And so I think for me, I'd give them a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Probably move them
Okay.
down. Probably move them down if Lonzo Ball is not in playing, because I think that they do need him.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, they need him and Caruso.
So I think it'd be a 5 if he doesn't play in the playoff series, but if he does play, I think it's a 6.
Okay, I will say if he doesn't play, then I'm gonna give them a 5. But if everyone's healthy on the Bulls, I give them an 8.
Okay.
Um, like I said, I was really bullish on this team just from on paper and the type of styles they all each play on that team, and it was succeeding. They were the number one seed, so I think if they all come back healthy, it's a big if. But I think they can make a run at the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they're talented enough with Vooch, Zach, Debo, and all the other guys. If they play their role and everyone's healthy, that's a big if. But they can. I think they can beat almost any type of team on any type of night in a 4 game or a 7 game series.
Yeah.
So
And
I'll give
we'll
them 8.
Yeah. And we'll see about the Chicago Bulls moving forward. I hope that they can stay healthy, but only time will tell for the
Yeah.
Chicago Bulls. And last but not least, Tyrese, you love them. They're your favorite team. The Los Angeles Lakers, the ninth
Oh
seed,
my
your
God.
favorite ninth seed of all time. LeBron
Man.
James, has been going off scoring wise. He's been, he averaged 38 tonight. Going for a triple double. He's obviously trying to go for that scoring record. I think Kareem is looking in the rearview mirror, seeing that LeBron James is only a little bit behind. Um, but for the Lakers, obviously, we know that this is definitely not the season that they anticipated. Anthony Davis, obviously, aka Mr. Day to Day Davis, um, injured again. Hoping that he can return for the playoff series. Russell Westbrook, not being liked or not like being called mean names as Russell Westbrook. Um, and so,
Man. Can I just
uh,
say something really quick? I'm glad Alvin Gentry did not probably make that call and trading and keeping Anthony Davis, man. He was saying crazy things like he wouldn't give up AD for Beyonce, man. Like now look at him. He's injury prone as hell. Imagine if he was in New Orleans and he got injury prone like this. Like no one would probably want him. But go ahead.
yeah, I mean, this team obviously did not meet expectations. I think a lot of people were disappointed in their play. A lot of people were not excited about where the Lakers eventually ended up this season. But according to these new rules, they're able to play in the playing game. We'll see if they are able to win those playing games and potentially play the one seed, which would be the Phoenix Suns, in another exuberating round of NBA basketball. Russell Westbrook has obviously been a very disappointing player for the Lakers. They were hoping for a lot more. They were expecting a lot more from him, and that just hasn't been the case. And so, as the Lakers kind of move on this off season, we'll see what they're able to do. I know Russell Westbrook and the Lakers have agreed to part ways. That's probably going to be coming relatively soon. LeBron James almost averaging 30 points this season, trying to win another scoring title. It seems like. But my confidence reader in them is probably at a 2, just because I think that
Ooh.
it for me it's like if the role players are not doing their thing, if the
He
role
said
player
too.
if the role players are not doing their job,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be sayonara, game over for them. And so as much as I think, actually, I'll give it to a 5 just because I think
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, like,
LeBron
dang.
LeBron James is solely is enough to get them to a 5, but the role
Mm-hmm.
players, to me, the role players really make it a -3. Like that's why I said a 2, is because I think that the role players really bring it all down. Um, and so we'll see what happens with this Lakers team. I don't have any confidence in them going forward, but they'll be fun to watch in the playoffs just for LeBron James scoring purposes.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know, man. Like, if AD comes back and he's for some whatever reason going crazy, like, and LeBron's playing how he's playing now, I think they can damn near beat any type of team if those two are going how they normally go.
But is Anthony Davis
Um,
going to be healthy in time? That's the question.
yeah, that's exactly that's the $1 million question. But if he's not in it, same old same, man, I'm giving them a 4. Like I'm with you. It'll be exciting, but they'll be home in the first. They'll be home in the first round, and But if AD comes back healthy and Russell Westbrook for whatever flips a switch and he starts going MVP mode, and they're a ninth or 10th seed, they I don't know, man. They can win it all. Like who knows? Like I wouldn't count them out just because they have LeBron and AD and Russell Westbrook. Like he can. You never know. He might catch a rhythm.
Yeah.
Like, but that's a big if, right? He's been doing this the whole regular season. But to go back to the original question, I would give him a 4, man,
Yeah.
until further notice.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Like I said, I don't think that we're necessarily going to see them kind of be going crazy or going off, but we'll see if they
Yeah.
are able to kind of do their thing moving forward. But let us know in the comment section down below, people. What do you guys make of our kind of couple teams that we kind of just highlighted here. Are you guys in agreement with our analysis? Do you guys think that those are the confidence ratings for those teams? If you are a fan of those teams, I know Justin, you're a big fan of the Chicago Bulls. Let me know what you think about our Bulls rating. And then obviously we're Celtics fans, so we know what we have to say. But if there is
Yes,
Celtics fans
sir.
out there, let us know what you think about our confidence reading going into the postseason. With only just a couple weeks going from here on out. Uh, Let us do this, Tyrese. We got to kind of finish everything